The story kicks off with a businessman named Nick who was driving home late with his son. He noticed the car was getting low on gas, so he pulled into a nearby gas station to fill up. While he was pumping the gas, Brandon figured he'd go into the store and grab a coffee. Nick was standing outside, waiting for him to come back. That's when some guys with guns stormed the store and shot the store owner. One of them said, "What are you thinking? Hurry up and kill this kid. You can do this." Then, the guy grabbed a knife and cut Brandon's throat. Nick screamed and ran toward his son. He managed to grab one of the attackers. In the struggle, he pulled off the guy's mask, so his face was visible. That guy tried to break free and run away, but a car coming from the front smashed right into him and drove off. A ton of blood was gushing out of Brandon's neck. Nick picked him up and rushed him to the hospital, where the doctors told him his son was dead. Meanwhile, the gang members left the other guy laying there and bolted, but they had no idea the police had already arrested him. Nick was called to the police station to ID his son's killer. A bunch of guys were standing in front of him, but Nick remembered the killer's face perfectly. He recognized him right away when he saw him. After that, the killer was sent to court for trial. The lawyers told Nick, "Tell the judge tomorrow exactly what you told us. Make sure you don't mess up. We don't have a lot of evidence against him, but he'll definitely get sentenced per the deal." Nick asked, "What deal? Why didn't you tell me about this?" The lawyer explained to him that the guy who killed his son didn't do it on purpose. He was forced to do it. See, the gang he's in had a rule that if someone wanted to join, they had to take a life. Unfortunately, that night, your son was the one. They said there was a high chance the judge would have mercy on him tomorrow and reduce his sentence. You can fight this case for the next 10 years to get him the death penalty if you want, but I guarantee you he'll still get off. It's way better if he gets a 3-year sentence. Nick said, "Some idiot killed my son just to prove he was tough to some group, and you guys are saying he'll only get 3 years? He wanted his son's killer to rot in prison for life." But the lawyer explained to him that this was a take-it-or-leave-it deal. You're the one who has to decide what you want. The next day, everyone showed up in court. Nick saw that Joe, who was on trial, was laughing and showed no remorse for his crimes. Nick knew what he had to do with him. When the judge asked Nick if he saw this kid that night, Nick said, "No, Your Honor. Maybe this isn't the guy. It was super dark there. I couldn't see well." Based on his testimony, the judge released Joe. Outside the court, his gang members were waiting for him. Billy said, "Now you're a man. Let's party because of it." Meanwhile, Nick stood far away watching them. He followed their car and finally got to an apartment complex. Billy left Joe with a girl and drove off. Now Nick had to decide what he was going to do with his son's killer. Nick went home and started looking for the perfect weapon to kill him. After this, Nick went straight to Joe's apartment. Joe got scared when he turned around and saw him. Before he could figure out what was happening, Nick attacked him, and after a big struggle, Nick finally stabbed him in the stomach and killed him. When his anger cooled off, he realized what he'd done. He quickly ran away from there and threw the knife in the river to get rid of the evidence. When he got home, he looked totally freaked out. Helen asked him, "Why are you so shaken up?" But Nick didn't tell her anything. Finally, his son got justice, but he wasn't ruthless like those guys. He felt bad that he had taken a life. The next day, Billy went to meet his gang. They said, "Did you hear what happened to Joe? Someone murdered him last night." Billy thought they were fooling around, but nope, it was true. That same day, Detective Wallace went to Nick's office and told him that someone had killed his son's killer. "We suspect this was the work of a rival gang." A man standing nearby said, "Finally, God gives everyone justice." Hearing this, the remorse Nick had for killing him went away. He had accepted that what he did was right. We see that Billy and his gang were trying to find Joe's killer. He said, "When a businessman's son dies, it makes the headlines. They write big articles. But when one of us dies, they just write one line saying a gangster was killed. No names written, no reason behind it. Like our lives don't even matter." They showed a girl a picture of Nick, and they found out that Nick was there the night Joe was murdered. Meanwhile, Nick was planning on leaving his office early today. A lot of blood was coming from his hand. After that, he bought some medicine and started walking toward his car. We see that Billy and his guys were watching Nick. One of them followed him. Nick immediately sensed that someone was following him. Just as the guy pulled out his gun to kill him, Nick hit him with his briefcase and ran away from there. Billy chased him and fired several shots at him. But the good thing was that not a single bullet hit him. While running, his legs started to trip, but he didn't stop. He threw away his briefcase and ran into a building's kitchen. But Billy's guys still didn't give up the chase. A guard, the police, someone's gonna save him from these thugs. With this hope, he started setting off the security alarms of all the cars. But unfortunately, no one came to help him. Instead, those guys figured out where he was. Nick ran toward his car, but someone was already waiting for him there. To distract him, Nick honked the horn, and as soon as the guy turned around, Nick attacked him and tried to grab his gun. The fear of being killed by them brought out the real survivor in Nick. He beat him up so bad that the guy fell to the ground half dead. Nick's hands were shaking, but there was no fear in his eyes anymore. He tried to strangle him with the car's seatbelt, but then the car started slipping down the slope. Nick managed to get out in time, and the guy fell with the car and died a really bad death. Billy and his guys chased his car, but it was his sheer luck that he managed to escape them with his life. Nick was just about to take a breath when his wife called him. She said it had been hours since school ended, but Luke hadn't come home yet. Scared, Nick didn't waste any time and went looking for him. And finally, he found him at the same gas station where Brandon was murdered. Nick said, "Get in the car," but when Luke kept being stubborn, Nick yelled at him and grabbed him and took him home. Meanwhile, when Billy opened his briefcase, he found out about Nick's family. Now he knew a lot about him. The next day, one of his guys showed up at Nick's office. The guard told him to sign in, but he refused to sign. He said, "I gotta deliver this package to Nick Hume." The guards told him he couldn't go inside like that, but he shoved everyone aside and barged into Nick's office. He gave him the briefcase and said, "You made a huge mistake messing with Billy." Nick got really scared by the guy's guts. As soon as he opened the briefcase, he found a picture of his family inside with a cross drawn over it by Billy. He had a number written on the back. When Nick called that number, he heard Billy's voice on the other end. Nick warned him that if anything happened to them, he would kill him just like he killed his friend. Billy told him that the guy he killed wasn't his friend. He was my brother. Hearing this, Nick knew this was personal. Right away, he called his wife and told her that no matter what, she couldn't leave the house or let anyone inside. "Our lives are in danger." He ran to his family and found that they were all safe. A little later, Wallace showed up there. She said, "Now's the time you tell everyone the truth. You started a gang war by killing him, and you're all alone with a lot to lose." Nick refused to confess anything at first, but when Wallace started to leave, he confessed that yes, he killed Joe. He said, "Whatever happens to me, I'll accept it, but please, nothing must happen to my family." After getting the truth out of him, Wallace said, "All right, 2 cops will protect your family tonight, and don't go outside until we find Billy." Worry for his family was eating Nick up inside, but Helen reassured him that he was a good father. "You didn't do anything wrong, and whatever happens now, we'll face it together." Late that night, Nick woke up suddenly to the sound of sirens. When he pulled back the curtain, he saw that Billy's guys had killed the cops. Then one of the thugs broke in. Nick didn't waste any time, grabbed a baseball bat, and beat the guy to death with it. But the danger wasn't over. The other thug had a shotgun. He unleashed a barrage of bullets on Nick, but Nick managed to save himself and succeeded in killing him too. Before he could get himself together, he heard Helen screaming. Billy's guys had grabbed Helen and his younger son, and then they dragged them downstairs. Nick ran to try and save them, but it was too late. Billy shot them both right in front of his eyes. After this, he didn't spare Nick either, and shot him before leaving the scene. They thought he was dead, but he wasn't. Nick was still breathing. When he woke up, he was in deep shock. The doctors gave him a sedative to calm him down. Wallace said, "I'm still shocked that you're alive. God doesn't give everyone a second chance. Now's the time for you to end this right here. In war, everyone thinks they're right, but in the end, everyone gets killed. You ain't gonna win this fight either. Nobody wins." A little later, when Nick found out his son was alive, he ran to see him right away. But when he got there, he saw that his son was in a coma. Nick felt like he was to blame for his condition. All this happened because of him. If he had just listened to the lawyer, his family would be alive. He knew that Billy was a psychopath. He would come after them again. If he wanted to keep his son safe from his fear, Billy had to die. When she came inside, she saw that Nick had run away from there. He came to his house and started planning to kill Billy after taking a ton of painkillers. First, he went to the bank and took out a lot of cash. His friend told him about a bar that Billy often went to. Nick asked the people there, "I'm looking for Billy and his friends. Can you tell me where I can find them?" The guys were speaking Spanish. They cussed Nick out and made fun of him in their language, but they had no idea that he understood Spanish too. After this, he asked them for Billy's location in the language of kicks and punches, as well as Spanish. Nick needed a ton of weapons to kill him, so he went to an illegal arms dealer. The guy took one look at Nick and knew he was there for a specific reason. He showed him his best guns and said, "These will get rid of everything that's bothering you. So, what do you like?" Nick paid him more money than he asked for, which made him really happy. He said, "From now on, you're my premium customer." But as soon as he started to leave, Nick heard the sound of a gun being loaded. When he turned around, he saw the dealer pointing a gun at him. The dealer said, "So you're the one who's looking for my son, Billy. You're the one who killed Joe, right?" Nick thought he was going to kill him, but he didn't do anything like that. He said, "Do whatever you want with him. Anyway, he ain't my flesh and blood. But if you make the mistake of asking me for his location, you ain't leaving here alive." alive. Nick came to his garage with the weapons. He tested every single weapon carefully. He was heading into a gang war where he had to face everyone alone, so there was no room for mistakes. He had a deep wound on his head. Even his stitches weren't completely healed yet. He knew that leaving here alive was impossible, but for his son, he was ready to put everything on the line. After this, Nick went to Billy's friend's place. He was inside, but he wasn't opening the door, so Nick broke down the door. He couldn't believe his eyes seeing him alive again. The friend said, "I killed you, so how are you alive?" Nick found out that Billy's hideout was an old, abandoned mental hospital. He told Hako, "Call him. Tell him I'm coming to finish him." When Billy found out he was alive, he said, "Let him come. What's he gonna do to me?" But before Hako could say anything, Nick blew his head off right there on the call. Billy was a little freaked out now. He figured running away from here was the right thing to do. A little later, his dad came to meet him. He said, "That guy bought guns from me. If you run away from here, I won't get those guns back. If you want to make up for it, kill him and then give me the guns back." But Billy shot his own dad and left the place in his car. Meanwhile, Nick got to his hideout. He crashed into a van standing there at high speed, breaking the main gate. The gang member inside the van was killed. After this, when he went inside, there were already some people there. He had to kill them to get to Billy. He started hunting them down one by one. A little later, Billy showed up. When he saw that Nick had gotten to him, he didn't waste any time, went inside, and found the bodies of his men scattered everywhere. There were only a few inches between Nick and his death, but it looked like God himself was on his side. Only 2 people were left in the end. As soon as Billy saw him, he rained bullets on him. The other guy shot from behind, and one of the bullets hit him right in the neck. The wounded Nick went and sat down on a nearby bench. Billy shot at him, but he missed all his shots. He crawled somehow to Nick and sat down next to him. He looked at him and said, "You're just like us. Just look at yourself. Look what I turned you into." Both of them were bleeding out bad, but Billy's death was written to be by Nick's hands. He pulled out another gun and asked Billy, "Are you ready to die?" Billy started crying, but his fate was sealed the day he took an innocent life. Nick killed him and then walked out of there. He drove his car to his house, where there was no one waiting for him. He got his revenge, but only Nick knew the price he had to pay for it. He played a video of his family and slowly slipped away into death while just watching it. A little later, Detective Wallace showed up there. She told Nick that his son was out of his coma. The doctors said he would get better soon. Hearing this news, a slight smile appeared on Nick's face. And with that, the movie ends right there. I hope you liked the story. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.